Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me? Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
So, Samantha Curtis, I've got to know, you're a wedding planner. Where do you wedding plan?
That is a great question. I am everywhere and anywhere. I'm based both in Boston and New York, but I do destination weddings worldwide.
Doesn't that mean people have different ideas if they come from different parts of the world?
Oh, absolutely. And that's part of my job, to really manage those expectations, making sure that everything my team and I are very well versed in what they're looking for. And we're versed in a variety of cultures and traditions as well.
So how did you start? Were you using lipstick when you were a kid? How did it begin?
So I actually, funnily enough, my grandmother was actually a wedding dress designer in the 1950s through the 60s. And she really made me fall in love with the art. She would tell me all of her stories. She would show me all of her designs. And that's where I really started to branch into the wedding industry. And then I didn't think about it for years and years and years. And then when I went to college, I was trying to make some money on the side. And I became a server for a catering company and really just fell in love with it and worked my way up. I became a bridal attendant and then a event coordinator for them. And I was managing 70 plus weddings a year. And then I realized that I didn't get to really do the design, which was my big love. And I transitioned to opening my own company in 2020. And we started in Boston, then we branched to New York, and now we have weddings in Spain and Italy and all over the world.
What do you mean your own designs? What kind of designs? If you're doing a wedding, they just march down the aisle and say, I do. What do you mean designs?
That's what you would think. So weddings actually take so many more hours to plan than people ever really anticipate. That's really why I have a job. It takes 300 hours just to plan one day of events on average. And I'm doing hand-done sketches from every aspect of your event. You're going to see what your ceremony looks like. You're going to see what your reception looks like because I'm putting it right there for you. And we really take the time. We're doing that from 6 months up until the wedding day, really refining and making sure those designs are exactly what my clients want. And then I'm coordinating with everybody on the team to make that happen.
Listen, standing here with me is my techie who's very smart and got married in October. And he was planning the wedding like 8 years before. What do you have to do that's such a big effing deal for a wedding? It's just a party.
That's what you would think, but it's really become a status symbol in the past few years. Like you're inviting every single person that you know into a room. You're inviting all the people that you love into one space, and you're making it an experience. That's what's really changed about weddings that I've seen in the past 10 years. Is they're no longer just our parents' weddings where they had a simple ceremony at a church and then they're having a simple reception. These are becoming full-scale, built-out events that are done from scratch. We're bringing in insane live entertainment. We're bringing in so many experiential situations. It's really, the scope has changed quite a bit over the past few years.
Are you married?
I am. I'm actually celebrating my 10-year anniversary in May.
Where were you married?
I was married in Massachusetts, so I got married in Boston, actually, at the Boston Public Library.
Okay. But weddings now, since I know nothing, my wedding was back in the Stone Age when I was 11 years old at the time. Tell me why it takes 6 months for an effing wedding. I really seriously don't understand. I know it's relatives. I know mothers and fathers are nervous. I understand you don't want to spend too much money. I get all that. And you need a long, nice schmata for the bride to wear. I get all that. But that's always been that way since cave dwellers came in. Why is it such a big deal?
So it's really just not become one event. What I've seen really happen is it's become a weekend full of events. People are flying their guests out. They're choosing to do these bigger, more elaborate things because I think it's become so widely publicized what weddings look like, what people have expectations of weddings to look like. And frankly, these vendors are booking early. I'm booking vendors sometimes 18 months ahead of the wedding day to make sure that they'll be there and they have the top people that they're looking for. There's so much behind the scenes organization, especially if you're doing a big scale build out, like doing a custom tent and building things from the ground up. It takes a long, long time. And it's really the expectations that people have around weddings now, rather than, just having a simple wedding behind the scenes that can be planned quickly. But these bigger weddings, these complex weddings that people are really inviting, having people take the time out of their schedules and having their guests fly in for, those are going to take some planning and those are going to take some logistics on the back end.
Tell me about a wedding that you planned. You don't have to tell me the people's names if you don't want to, but tell me what you did for an exotic, fabulous wedding so that I can understand.
Great question. So I have a wedding actually in Spain that I did. And that was really complex. Most of the couple's friends and family were coming in from either the US or Canada. So we were on the back end, we're also coordinating all of those flights. We're getting all of those people there. We're making sure their travel is seamless. So we serve as travel planners as well. And from there, they actually brought in a live performer that was incredible. They brought in Diana Ross for their wedding, which was insane and so amazing to see. But we also have to manage those expectations on the back end. So she needed, not only did we have the venue, she needed a full scale build out. She needed a full scale green room. So we needed to make sure that all of those things were in place. She had everything she needed to give a great performance, while also managing the family, the bride and the groom, and keeping them centric to everything. So we're coordinating the caterers coming in. We're making sure all the service happens on time. We're making sure the couples don't run off. We're losing them throughout the day. It's a full scale team. I take at least 5 to 7 assistants with me on every wedding that I do.
So you have to be rich to have a wedding?
No, I wouldn't say you have to be rich. I just say you have to be managing the scale and managing your expectations of what you're looking for. Wedding budgets have almost tripled in the past 10 years.
Like what? Like
because
what?
of these larger
Like what?
productions. So when I started, weddings on average in America were around $80,000. Now weddings can easily go for a single day events. Now weddings can easily go from between $150,000 to $1 million behind the scenes. It's really about what your expectations are and what you're looking for and how much that takes to put it together.
Oh, you mean you schlep people in from different countries? You put them up in hotels? You do all that?
Of course. Of course, we want to make sure that everybody is having a wonderful experience. I also don't want to make sure guests aren't having to go through multiple connection flights to get to where they need to go. We're making things as smooth as possible so that everybody has an experience. Weddings are like vacations now. They take quite a bit of planning to go right.
Tell me some of the things that you do for a really classy wedding, because I just don't know what they are.
Of course, yes. So I think a really big thing that I'm seeing now are the experiences. So bringing in a performer like that, potentially bringing in these really cool carts. Like I had a wedding one year where they didn't want a plated dinner. They wanted to bring in 10 different food trucks from around New York City and have guests be able to go to every food truck and try their favorite cuisines. Okay. We've had famous performers, we've had DJs, we've had floral installations that are between $40,000 to $60,000. Like that's really where I'm seeing those big budgets come into play.
Well, how many of these incredible events end up in divorce?
That is such a good question. I'm knocking on wood right now, but I've actually been lucky. None of my couples have gotten divorced.
Not one. Please, I'm going to throw you off the air. Don't tell me. Don't tell me that. You lied. You're lying to me, Samantha Curtis. That's not possible.
I promise you, I am not. I promise you, I am not lying to you. My personal couples have not divorced. I cannot say from before when I was working in catering, but I'd like to take credit for it. I cannot.
Well, how many weddings have you done that nobody's been divorced? I'm going to hate you forever because I don't believe this. How many weddings have you done that not one has been divorced?
I've done over 200 weddings at this point in the last 5 years with my own company, thousands with my past company, but I cannot speak for them. But my hundreds are all in really great standing right now. So we'll see. I'll keep you updated if any of that changes.
Okay, tell me about the first wedding you planned that maybe you screwed up because you were too nervous or they were cheapos. Tell me about the first wedding you planned ever.
So it was definitely a budget wedding. I would say the biggest mistake I made that day was not realizing that the groom's party needed to be managed and not providing an assistant to be with them for the full day, because they did a great thing and surprised me by bringing in their own bottle of tequila without the bar's knowledge. And I had some very, very drunk, very, very messy groomsmen that I had to very quickly sober up to get down the aisle. So now needless to say, now I have a designated assistant who monitors the groom's party and makes sure they have everything they need within reason. But that is definitely a big aspect of wedding days. You can't really expect the wedding party to manage themselves. It's a celebratory day, and they're going to do what they're going to do.
How about mothers-in-law? Aren't they the first pains in the ass?
Honestly, yes. Their mothers-in-law love to take control. They love to really get involved. What I try to do now is I try to get them involved right off of the bat and having conversations with them that are reasonable. Like, what would you like to see out of this wedding day? What do you hope for them? And having those conversations head on. But that definitely wasn't the case when I was first starting. And I got surprised at one of my weddings. As I'm loading in the floral order, the bride wanted all lovely purple florals. We had that throughout the whole wedding. And then all of a sudden I see another florist pull up that I don't know that is bringing in all neon bright yellow florals. I walked up to her and I was like, what are we doing? The mother-in-law had apparently decided that purple was not happy enough of a color for the wedding day. And unbeknownst to all of us, decided to order an entire florist's worth of bright yellow florals because that's what she preferred. So we had a nice, lovely conversation and chatted with what the bride's priorities were. We found luckily we were in a hotel. We found a beautiful entryway area to set up all those yellow florals that the bride passed right by and thought they were part of the hotel and didn't even realize they were for her wedding, while the mother of the groom was still pretty happy. So luckily we made it out of that situation pretty smoothly.
What is the oddest request that some of them have? I mean, brides and grooms all have requests. Mothers-in-law and pains in the ass, we know that. But what do they do? Their clothes? Does a guy who want to wear shorts to a wedding? I mean, they're all a little off these days. Tell me the odd requests you've had.
I've had a request to bring in different animals for a cocktail hour, zoo animals, and trying to figure out exactly how that would work and what the restrictions and what the safety guidelines are around that was a pretty challenging one. I would definitely say grooms come in with some pretty crazy attire requests. Usually the bride is pretty great and kiboshes that pretty fast. I would say turning a venue into a club was another interesting request I had. So this was a beautiful historical castle, and we completely revamped it and put in disco balls and made it like a Studio 54. And it was absolutely gorgeous and fun, but definitely a bigger, more interesting challenge.
What about a problem with the bride or a problem with the groom or something that you're doing and they don't like it? They're very tense when they're having a wedding.
Yeah. And I would say, sorry, go ahead.
No, go explain to me, because they're all very nervous. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, so there definitely is a lot of, especially with these bigger budget weddings, like there's so much pressure, like your families and you are contributing so much money. It's a big investment. And I would say that also comes with quite a bit of nerves and quite a bit of stress on their end. I would say like my biggest thing that really helps me is just building the trust over months with them. We work together for the most part over 18 to 12 months minimum. So really having me go back and forth, I'm managing quite a bit. And that really takes quite a bit of stress off their shoulders. There's a reason, this is a full-time job for me, and there's a reason they have full-time jobs and they're bringing me on. It's because it's quite a bit to manage, and that stress can really get to them. So through our conversations, it tends to die down a bit for the most part.
18 months to meet for a wedding?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. 18 months is usually my standard for when people bring me on. I'm well booking into 2027 already. There's quite a bit to do, and these vendors are booking out fast. I would say the biggest one in the past few years, makeup artists, just makeup artists, which you would not expect. My makeup artists are booking up to 2 to 3 years out now. If you really want somebody great, it takes a lot of time and a lot of coordination and making sure that they're on board.
So what do we get to be the marrying person? Is it a priest, a rabbi, a what? What do they use now?
It really depends. So it's also around like kind of the parameters of what they can do. So if you're getting married with a priest, a lot of people don't know this, you have to get married within a church. Priests cannot legally marry you outside of a church environment. And most people are opting not to get married in churches anymore. They're getting married by the oceanside or at their venue or in another beautiful location. So what I'm seeing for the most part is they're bringing on either a friend or a family member who knows them really, really well. They're getting a day of designation, and that's who's really responsible for things. For my Indian weddings, for my Jewish weddings, that obviously changes. They'll bring in a pundit or a rabbi who are a little bit more flexible. But for the most part, I'm seeing family and friends marrying the couple more often than not.
What's the name of your organization?
I'm Saru Event Design.
Say it again.
Saru Event Design.
Okay. And how do they find you?
How do my couples find me?
Yeah.
Mostly through vendor or client referrals. I work with really amazing people in the industry that are frequently telling couples about me. I have a lot of client referrals. It's really a lot of word of mouth. I don't do too much back end marketing other than, really advertising on my Instagram or any of the magazine publications I get into. It's really mostly referrals and word of mouth.
What about the old days when couples just went to a rabbi or a priest or something and they did it, or a judge? Why is it so huge today to get married, since divorce is also huge? Can you tell me that?
I would say in the era of Instagram and social media, that's really where things have blown up. Weddings are held to a much higher standard. People are comparing them against each other. It's definitely still about the love. And that's really what I try to bring my couples back in and focus on, because they can get very, very caught up and very stressed out about how is this going to look, or is this going to look as good as this person's. I try to center them back to them and make sure that the event is looking like them and feeling like them, as well as having these high-end expectations. I really think social media is the biggest cause of it, and just seeing what can be done, what's out there, having so many insanely talented people in the field now, where you can do custom builds and you can really create anything. I always tell my couples, the more unhinged the request, the better. So please come to me with your craziest, most open-minded thoughts, and I can most likely make it happen.
Did anything louse up? I mean, it sounds so perfect. Didn't anything ever get loused up, or the rabbi didn't show up, or the priest had a hang up, something, or the mother-in-law got a cranky? Everything sounds so perfect.
So that is because I really make it perfect. My couples don't see anything behind the scenes. They don't see those screw-ups. They definitely happen. Almost every wedding I have, something occurs with a vendor or a guest.
Tell me, like what? Like what?
Of course. So I had a DJ text us an hour before the wedding was about to start, when we were looking for him, that he wasn't going to be there on the wedding day. He had decided to take another job, not even for a good reason, had decided to take another job that was a little more lucrative in lieu of doing this wedding at the last second. So luckily, I have a million contacts through the field. I know so many DJs. I brought in another DJ who is fabulous. We ended up going post-wedding. We ended up going up on the back end and working with the CJ to get their money back because that is an immediate breach of contract. And that's a big thing that I do is contract negotiation and understanding the legalities of what my clients are getting into. So that's really a big piece. Like there's a lot of hiccups. The grooms and groomsmen being intoxicated and having to get them to the ceremony. There's quite a few things that can happen. There's so many hands involved in this that our job is to make sure it happens without the bride or the groom ever knowing it occurs.
Well, it wasn't boring talking to you. I am not getting married or divorced or anything. That happened back when we were children. So forget about it. I'm not getting married. But thank you, Samantha, very much for coming on. I enjoyed speaking with you.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Lovely to have you. Bye-bye, sweetie.
Bye.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.